So he has sub 31 arms, thin wingspan, all of that kind of stuff. Just to give you an idea, there has not been an edge rusher drafted inside the top 100 with sub 31-inch arms since the turn of the century. There has not been a Pro Bowl edge rusher with shorter than 31-inch arms. There has not been a single pass rusher in the league whose arms were this short, who has had double-digit sacks in the National Football League since then. There have only been 2 defensive linemen since 2003 with arms this short. And looking at it, these are the 3rd shortest arms of any edge rusher who has been selected, who is measured at the combine since 1999. So this is a story, in my opinion. I said this in the open, Bink. I'm happy to have you stick around with us for a little bit. I said this in the open. I'm not going to tell you to completely disregard this, only watch the tape. I think you have to pay attention. It's all part of the process. I also don't think if you can 100% eliminate him just because of this. You can find outliers to this. Dwight Freeney is an outlier to this. Micah Parsons has smaller arms. Like, we can find guys who have been very productive pass rusher that maybe don't have the prototypical size that you are looking for. Well, now that we have the official measurements on Rueben Bain, for someone who studies this, what does it say to you?
Yeah, this was kind of going to be the knock on Rueben Bain all along. That's why, I've heavily to the Chiefs wide receiver because I hadn't believed in Bain. But it's more than just the arm length, which we knew was going to be a problem. Props to him for measuring that today because I don't think he's going to do the drills. But he's also...
Why would he not? I'm sorry to cut you off, but if you're him, and right now the question is just about this. That's the conversation right now in the NFL draft is about arm length.
Sure.
If you know that you're going to go knock out all of the other physical parts, if you know you're going to dominate the bench press, if you know you're going to go dominate the 40, if you know you're going to dominate the 3 cone drills, I would change the conversation if I'm him and not make it about arm strength, but make it about pure physical talent and raw speed and strength.
But they want the tape to do that. But he came in shorter and lighter as well. So not only was the arm length, that was about to be expected for the arm length, but he's an inch shorter than his Miami bio. Miami lists him at 6'3", 275. He measured in at 6'2", 263. And so then the big question is, can you move Rueben Bain inside? Because you can deal with the arm length. You like his motor. Can he go inside? Well, at 263 pounds, guess what? You need to add more weight if you're going to be moved to the inside, if that's more of your ideal position than being on the edge. But it's always been a knock on him. I mean, the Chiefs are sticklers to this. Now, they have bent as far as edge rushers are concerned. Clearly, George Karlaftis is in the 32-inch range. Gelati, 31 7/8, so that'd be an inch longer in arm length than Rueben Bain. But as far as offensive tackles, typically it's 34 inches and above. Every tackle drafted by Andy Reid's been at least 34-inch arms. So you're going against that set. And Andy Reid's been a stickler on that, except for Simmons. Simmons has 33, so just a little bit less, but not much than what he typically drafts. But that's going to be the question. But to me, it was also the production as well, because you're on the same defensive line as somebody else, Akeem Mesidor. And I know he's a little bit older, so it might hurt him in the as far as being a first rounder. It could be at the beginning of the second round. But you're coming from a defensive line that's also having somebody drafted extremely high on the opposite edge you were. And also, when you look at production, he went weeks 3 through week 10 with 1.5 sacks. That's it. He went like a 6-week stretch with just a half a sack. To me, that stands out too, because that's production. So when you always say, well, look at the tape, look at production. Well, he didn't lead Miami in sacks. Akeem Mesidor did. So why do you show up in some games and not others? That'd be my biggest question.
Yeah, it sounds to me like the arm issue doesn't maybe bother you as much. You just got other questions aside from this.
Well, I do, but
motor,
the arm length
productivity.
matters.
I mean, for as great of a last month that he has, like, he didn't really have that one season where you had 14.5 sacks in college where we were talking about you as that kind of player. But I do think it's undeniable how he played the final month of the season and against the competition that he played with and how he dominated and how disruptive he was. I don't know if you can completely disregard that with him.
Well, he was very good against A&M in the playoffs, had 3 sacks, but he disappeared for the Ole Miss semifinal game. He had no sacks. He disappeared in that game. If you watch the semifinal game, Rueben Bain didn't do anything. Then you get to the title game, and he had a sack. Mesidor on the other side did as well. I like Jacoby Thomas, the safety for Miami, better than Bain or Mesidor, to be quite honest with you. But, yeah, the arm length does come into question because it comes down to also motor's fine if your motor's running 100% of the time every game, but eventually you need that leverage. I mean, just think about it, sticking your when you're growing up and your older brother, he's got 2-inch longer arms than you. Well, he could reach out and punch you before you could even, touch his face. It does matter. Leverage does matter. There's a reason why out of the top 10 sackers in the NFL this year, all of them had 32-inch arms. Out of the top 10 sackers in the NFL this year, he would be less than anybody in the top 10 in getting sacked. So, yeah, it comes into equation with leverage and things like that. His motor's unreal. I mean, I do like his motor. I mean, at times, Rueben Bain is unstoppable, and I get that. I do think the arm links, which I know everybody's making a big deal of it today, but this was the knock on Rueben Bain all year in college football was, well, because Dane Brugler and others put it out there that it could be around the 30 and 7/8-inch arms mark, but he wasn't officially measured until today. I'll give him props for doing it at the combine. He skipped the Senior Bowl, so there was no – I understand that. He was in the national title game, but he skipped the Senior Bowl when they did the measurements, like on Diego Pavia, finding out his height. Like, he didn't do that. Ruben didn't. So, I mean, it's concerning because of the track record. Now, you can always be an asterisk. Sure, there's always asterisks in every single round you're drafting.
I want to play this audio for you. We asked Mitch Holthus this question yesterday. I asked him what would he see as the Chiefs' biggest need in the NFL draft. This is what Mitch Holthus said yesterday on the show.
Getting more athletic and impactful on defense at all three levels. I can take you to a point, I can take you through, I alluded to this to you, I think, once the regular season ended. But I went back and reviewed tape that there were 16 times where there were, at critical times of the game, of the 11 losses, where half of those losses could have been swung on those plays. And I mean one or two plays. And it's not just, every NFL game is decided by one or two plays. These are 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10. And everybody then wants to point to some kind of magic formula of, you got to get pressure with 4. Yes, you do. Or you've got to cover the medium areas of the defense from 8 to 12 yards. Yes, you do. You have to be able to break on the ball and be aggressive and have enough athletic defensive backs to be able to make plays, even if you don't get just a perfect rush on. Yes, you do. How the game of football changed this year, meaning teams were not looking to score quickly. They were looking to control the game. I'm going to control the game, and then I'll score. And that's what happened to the Chiefs. So the countermeasure, the first countermeasure, I think, is getting just, 1, the swag back, but 2, more athletic and impactful for a defense that looks more like Seattle's.
That was Mitch Holthus yesterday on the show. I asked him what he saw as the Chiefs' biggest need in the NFL draft. I'll ask you the same question, Bink. What do you see as the Chiefs' biggest need heading into the draft?
Skill position at 9, 100% skill position. Because look at this team the last 2 years. They haven't had a running back sniff 1,000 yards. They haven't had a wide receiver sniff 1,000 yards. The offensive skill positions are bad for this team. And right now, you have Xavier Worthy. If Rashee Rice didn't start the season with the team, you're screwed. You got Xavier Worthy under contract. I mean, you have to throw – the best part of this team is Patrick Mahomes. It's building the team up around Patrick Mahomes. But 850 yards led the team in receiving last year with Travis Kelce. I get it. There was a bunch of injuries, but that's to be expected because that's what you have to expect when you play in the NFL. 611 yards led him in rushing. And you know what? It wasn't much different the year before. And I know they got to the Super Bowl, but they tried to, quote, maintain, as Veach said, with that Super Bowl year that they had. But they've got to get more dynamic on offense. And I get it. We can look at Seattle and look at great defenses and all that. That's fine. But let's not forget how they got to the Super Bowl. Let's not forget that Jackson Smith had 10 catches, 153 yards, and a touchdown in the title game. That's what got them to the Super Bowl. Their defense did not. The Seahawks defense gave up nearly 500 yards to the Rams. Stafford went for 374 and 3 touchdowns against them. They could not stop the Rams. But JSN had 10 for 153 and a touchdown. I get it. You get to the Super Bowl, it's different. Obviously, the defense have shined, but the defense shined against a team that gave up 21 sacks in the Patriots throughout the postseason. So, yeah, if you want to use a game example and say, well, look at the Seahawks defense, the Super Bowl is great. Where was that defense the week before?
I am in the same boat that you are. I mean, I'm obviously for them getting more explosive on defense. I'm all for them finding that pass rusher. That's why I would like for them to go at 9. Find that edge rusher that you can just put there for the next 8 years, and we don't have to talk about it. A guy that's a true disruptor, a guy that can get after the quarterback. Finding somebody in that secondary that can force turnovers, that can create those opportunities is really important. But I'm with you when it comes to skill position. I don't know if I necessarily would do that at 9. Like, I'm not hammering them to go get a wide receiver at 9.
Sure.
If they got one, I'm not mad at it. I don't want them to draft a running back at 9. I just don't think that's a good use of the resource, especially when you look at the free agent class that exists. Like, if you're telling me that you can keep 9 and then go in another direction, but go sign Travis Etienne, go sign a Kenneth Gainwell, I'd much rather go in that direction than spend the 9th overall pick, because it's not just the pick, it's also the contract that you have to give out because he's the 9th overall pick when you look at the rookie wage scale. But I think you and I are on the same page. This team just need more explosive plays on offense.
They need more
and
than
now
3
this
yards.
is the offseason to find them.
3 yards in a cloud of dust offense. They need that explosive, take the top off the defense playmaker that they've been looking for the longest time. Patrick Mahomes needs his dude for the rest of his career. He needs that guy. Because you know what? Kelsey's been that guy. He was that guy with Alex Smith. He's been that guy with Patrick Mahomes, but he's going to be 37. It hasn't made 100% up his mind if he's coming back or not. So who's going to take that production from Kelsey? Because over the last decade, it's either been Kelsey or Tyreek Hill that's led this team in yards. That's it. That's the list. And you're banking on a 37-year-old. What if he doesn't come back? And then let's say something happens to Rice. And all of a sudden you got Worthy. You can go out and get a free agent wide receiver if you want to spend $25 million a year on Alec Pierce. If you want to spend that much money on that guy, or you can draft them, have 4 years of controllability if they're in the second round, 5 if they're first round, and not pay that wide receiver tax. It's cheaper to go get a running back. It's cheaper to go get a tight end in free agency. It's a hell of a lot cheaper than getting a good wide receiver unless you make a trade. If you make a trade, you can find a way to do it. They don't, quote, have that draft capital to be throwing around at trades for
That's what
different
makes
teams.
it so hard to me. Like, for
It
a
is.
wide receiver, for example, Brian Thomas. I think Brian Thomas Jr. is going to get traded at some point this offseason. There's just too much rumbling around it. But a guy like Kayvon Thibodeau, who was a top pick a couple of years ago, it's not working out in New York. I'd love for the Chiefs to be in on that, but I'm not sure if they got enough draft picks that they can be in on a move like that.
Or for Bradley Chubb would be okay with $12 to $13 million a year for 1 year. A 1 year deal with the 2 year option that you can have a 1 to 2 year deal on a guy that's proven in the NFL. Not saying they don't need to do it, because they do need to get better at edge.
I like Owe from Seattle. I'm interested if he's available.
Yeah, exactly. But definitely spend, if you don't go in free agency and you bring in an edge rusher, wide receivers are going to cost you a lot of money. Even Juwan Jennings is going to cost you at least $22 million. That's a former 7th round pick.
We had BK on the show, and that's who he wants the Chiefs to go get.
But again, that was a 7th round pick. This is what happens when you throw more than one dart at receivers. And the Chiefs have, quote, what Veach say, maintained. They haven't gone out there. They went out in the year where they were going to lose their number 1 receiver to a suspension. We all knew it was going to happen with Rice. And they drafted Jalen Royals. And that was really everything they did.
Who couldn't get on the field last
They didn't
year.
go out and get that free agent like a Keenan Allen that was just sitting out there until training camp. They didn't do a damn thing. And they relied on a Jalen Royals who couldn't get on the field. They threw 1 dart at Sky Moore in the draft. They threw 1 dart at Rashee Rice in the draft. Guess what happens when you throw more than one? You get a Puka Nacua, who's the 4th, 5th round selection of the Rams. You get a Juwan Jennings in the 7th round. You get a Torrey Horton. You get different guys when you throw more than 1 dart at receiver, when your biggest commodity is Patrick Mahomes. And he needs somebody to throw to. We can be as good as we want on defense, but unless you're sitting here churning out 830-yard receivers to be your leading receiver in a 17-game schedule and 600-yard running backs, you can't be explosive on offense. And this team is so hurting on explosive plays on offense. And yes, you pay so much for a wide receiver in free agency. I just think drafting one's the best option. And I like the edges that could be there at 40. I do. And I don't think they're exponentially much different between the guys in the beginning part of that second round than early on. And you can say the same thing probably about wide receiver, but definitely those top 2 picks need to be wide receiver and or edge, and definitely running back, I feel, because it looks like they're going to get a mid-tier type running back, mid-tier to below, as far as through free agency. So they're going to have to draft a running back in the top 3 rounds, in my opinion.
913-586-7965. Binkley's going to hang around for just a little bit longer. We're going to ask him some random questions here coming up in just a bit. Last football question from me. We'll see if the text line has some for random question time. I think their big swing is going to be Travis Etienne. I think they've already been setting it up. I think Veach, I'm not saying he said it a couple of days ago, but I would say the biggest quote that came out of the combine is, we need to be more explosive at running back.
Yeah.
So that means you're taking a swing at running back. I'm not talking about Elijah Mitchell. You are going to allocate some resources to running back. I thought Breece Hall was going to be that player. I think he's going to go back to New York. I think Travis Etienne makes a lot of sense. We had the report from Pete Sweeney a couple of days ago that Etienne's very interested in Kansas City.
Sure.
That's who I think their big swing is going to be. Who do you think that's going to be day one?
It does. Tyler Algier, somebody like that in that category, I can see being a Kansas City Chief. And as far as Veach throwing these things out there, yeah, he's throwing the smoke screen out there as well because Jeremiah Love, our team's going to jump the Chiefs and the Saints to get up and get Jeremiah Love because that's been the odds-on favorite to be a Kansas City Chief. Matter of fact, 12 of the last 25 mocks that went out all have Jeremiah Love. Everybody thinks they're going there. When Veach said that, that was crucial. But the other thing he said, though, that I thought made a lot of sense was they've been maintaining, which they have been. They've taken that sponge to get all the water when they made it to the Super Bowls, right? They just kept winning. So they didn't make a change. Like someone in an older car, and they're going to keep driving it until the wheels fall off. Well, the wheels fell off, and they need to make a change. So when he said those two things there, you kind of pay attention to it. But, yeah, I think there's a market, and I think that people are zeroed in on the Chiefs getting Jeremiah Love if they don't make a move in free agency. I think a mid-tier running back like a Rico Dowdle, Travis Etienne be fine, but Tyler Algier, as long as they still draft a running back, like at least by the third round.
Binkley, I love talking NFL draft with you, but we got a lot of time to talk NFL draft. But the time is now for, go ahead and tell them.
Random question time!
Bink, when you go to a sports bar,
Yeah.
what do you order? Like, let's say that you and I tomorrow went to the other place.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, Bink, you know what? It's on me. I'm treating you today. What are you ordering?
Well, beer, first of all. Does that
Okay,
count?
yeah, no, I'm talking food-wise. You got to eat, too.
Probably some form of pretzel sticks, like the dip in the cheese.
Okay.
Or nachos for appetizers. Definitely that. If it's a burger or something like that, and we get a little fancier, and hey, you can order from the menu.
You can order whatever you want.
I'm going smash burger. I'm going something like that. But I would typically stand in the appetizers, like the pretzel sticks, the nachos, those kind of things, the potato skins, those kind of things.
Give me a underrated burger spot in Kansas City. And I'm going to say just for this because I know you. I know you're going to say Taze because it's up north. I'm taking Taze off the board. Give me a low-key, underrated, you're going to go get a burger tonight. Where are you getting a burger from?
Well, there is the 300 burger. Does that not count? The
That absolutely
Liberty
counts.
Bowl. Yeah, underserved barbed wire barbecue. I love their burgers as well. Danny's Burger Shack on North Oak is legitimately
What is
underrated.
this called? Danny's Burger Shack? Okay, I've never heard this before.
Danny's Burger Shack. It's on North Oak, but it's got quite the following. A lot of people waiting in line for some Danny's burgers.
Okay, Danny's Burger Shack.
Yeah.
I need to write this down.
But definitely 300 burger, but everybody knows about that and they go out there. But that's definitely one of the underrated burgers in the city.
What do you get on your burger? Let's say you're at Five Guys, where like toppings are kind of the thing.
Well, I like jalapenos on it. I know
Okay.
it sounds weird, but bacon for sure. Got to go cheese, Colby Jack or American cheese for sure. But the jalapenos, I love throwing those on there. That and the bacon.
I heard earlier you don't wear lotion.
No.
Can we dive into this a little more?
Yeah, I don't like lotion.
Okay.
I shower every day. The
I mean, I
text line
believe
want to
that.
know about that. Or deodorant. Yes, I wear deodorant as well.
You an Old Spice guy?
No, not Old Spice. Actually, they spray. This
Okay.
Old Spice, the athletic spray or whatever they
Okay.
have.
Yeah. I like Old Spice or Dove.
Yeah, I don't take baths, and I always shower. Drew takes baths, believe it or not.
Like every time, or is that
No,
like
just sometimes he does.
Okay,
Extra
yeah. I mean, I
somewhat.
understand every once in a while if that's how you're gonna do it.
Does Rob use lotion? Do you use lotion?
I use lotion. I use more like hand lotion than I use like body lotion. But
Well,
yes, I
yeah,
use
this
lotion.
is like put on your face and stuff.
I also use a soothing lotion soap during the winter because I don't want my skin to be all chalky.
Well, you can use soap in a shower or whatever. I'm just talking just pure lotion.
I
I'm
do
just not-
use lotion. I kind of have to use lotion.
Do you?
I saw people saying this: men don't use lotion. Definitely a two Americas conversation. I gotta use lotion. Like
I just
have
don't
to.
grab the
I have to
lotion and then you're
replenish
like
the
applying
moisture.
it all over your arms, whatever. No.
No, I mean I completely understand. I'm 100% with you. What was the last television show you watched, Bink?
Oh, geez. Does it have to be live or could it be something you
Whatever
went back and...
whatever you watch. Just like I'm watching this show. Like if you were on a date with a woman and she asked you what shows are you watching, what would you have answered?
Honestly, I think the last one to watch is I've liked to go back and watch that Everybody Loves Raymond show. I know it's an old sitcom from the 90s.
No, that counts.
But that's funny to me. It's well written. It's like I can go back and watch some of that. Or believe it or not, I watched the other night. I was watching Log Cabin Living. These people that go out and buy these houses that are built like log cabins. I enjoy like house shows.
I've never heard of this show before.
I enjoy any kind of house.
I'm
shows.
a believer that everybody has a weird show like that. Like
Yeah,
mine's
any
Bar
kind of house
Rescue.
shows, yeah.
I like
Oh,
Pawn
love Bar Rescue.
Stars.
Yeah.
Extreme Cheapskates is a show that I also love. Rob, do you have one of those shows in this category?
Any of the Gordon Ramsay shows. Like, I like Kitchen Nightmares, Hell's Kitchen, Next Level Chef. I like all those shows. If Gordon Ramsay's yelling at people, I'm in. Sign me up.
Or air disasters, where it shows like air disasters, problems that haven't done. I know I wouldn't watch it when you're flying, but if you don't have any flights,
Okay.
watch it.
All right. I learned so much today. That is our guy, Jay Binkley, joining us in studio today. Talk a little NFL draft and also about this Rueben Bain. Ruben Bain's got baby arms. That's what we learned today at the NFL Combine. That's what he's got. It's
like that commercial. Remember where you can't reach a check? Because I can't reach it. Can someone slide me the check? The alligator that's sitting there.